The transfer portal still churning. This thing's still open. I've noticed some teams I think made solid moves here. First thing I want to talk to you about is Texas. Texas is the gold standard in talent acquisition in this sport. Everybody in the NIL space will tell you, I tried to say NIL and also nil. In the NIL space, everyone will tell you, man, it's Texas and everyone else. And so Texas needed help along the defensive line, and they've added 5 of them via the portal. Murad Watson is the latest, 6'3", 313, out of Syracuse. He was the number 2 overall player available, obviously number 1 defensive tackle available. It was an area of massive need. This is 2 years in a row, specifically on the D-line, where Texas has lost big-time impact players. And I don't care how well you recruit, it's tough to just sustain at the level they've been playing at when you have 2 of those cycles in a row that sort of gut you at the same spot. So I think Texas has made really good moves to solidify themselves as, yet again, a prime playoff contender, prime national title contender. David Stone up the road in Norman is staying at Oklahoma. Now, this does not shock me because I didn't get the sense he wanted to leave Oklahoma, but he was a 2024 5-star defensive lineman. He was at Oklahoma last year. Then he goes in the portal. It seems like it was probably more a situation where he was wanting to restructure his deal. Never wanted to leave by all accounts, and he's not going to leave, so good. I hate that kind of stuff even happens in the public. Like, that's the kind of stuff you want to play out behind the scenes. You don't ever want it to get to the point where he goes in the portal. So, it's a net turnoff sometimes. No one's more attracted to a guy because he briefly went in the portal and came back out. Not a terrible thing, just, grand scheme of things, good. A guy was at a program last year, and he's still there this year. They got it worked out. I think Oklahoma bears close watching, though. Oklahoma's made some really, really good moves here. Quarterback was a major concern for them, and they went and got Mateer out of Washington State with his offensive coordinator for good measure. Check. And then obviously Jordan Ott, we haven't talked about this since it happened, but they got maybe the best tailback in the country that was available from Cal. So, Jaden, my bad. I always called him Jordan last year, too. Our apologies, Mr. Ott. But they did that. They completely overhauled their wide receiver room. Deion Burks, you remember this time last year, we were talking about Deion Burks out of Purdue, and he got hurt last year. And so he wasn't the impact player we thought he'd be, but he still has that potential. And so he's there. They added a starting OT like we talked about, added 2 other defensive starters. This is a program that is stacked top 10 recruiting classes and portal classes on top of each other. They've got an incredibly difficult schedule this year, but they could also be a playoff team this year. I think Oklahoma is a playoff caliber team that will not be viewed as one because people will look at their schedule and assume they can't navigate that. Maybe they're right, but that doesn't mean they're any less a quality of team potentially. No one is anything in April. We understand that. But I think Oklahoma bears close watching. I think Georgia has done a really good job. Let me cut in really quick and ask, look, prayer hands, please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you think you're subscribed, check and make sure. Over 50% of you aren't. It's free, it doesn't sign you up for anything, and it helps us keep the show free, college football year-round, the way God intended it. All right, back to the clip. Georgia's not always the biggest portal player, but they added some really good quality here. Elo Medozi was a guy out of Army that we talked about last show. I strongly suspected Georgia would go after him. They did. He's 6'3", 245-pound edge. They are very, very much a team that was in need at that position. But they also got Josh McCray, a tailback out of Illinois. He's the kind of body they needed. He's 240 pounds. You probably remember the Citrus Bowl game they had against South Carolina. That's where Beamer and Shane Beamer almost went at it, but he had 13 carries, 114 yards, 2 touchdowns in that game. So really good compliment to the other guys they have in that room already. But Georgia's done a good job. And so Elo Medozi's really, really, I think, a guy that immediately everyone will love there. So the other day we were talking about Trebor Pena out of Syracuse. And Fran Brown had a lot to say about him. He's the wide receiver from up there. He was an all-ACC guy last year. He wanted more than Syracuse was willing to spend, so he goes in the portal. No shortage of suitors, obviously. It's a position of need for a lot of teams. There is a short supply of proven production available at that position. And so he visited Penn State, and I was interested to see how that would work out. And he left there without, committing or signing with them. Doesn't mean it can't happen, but he's also going to visit Miami. He's going to visit USC. He's going to visit UCLA. At least two of those we know are willing to spend big right now. And so I wonder, is Penn State willing to do that, and do they see fit to do it? Do they view him as a fit? If the answers are no there, they will not do it. So Trebor Pena, though, that's a guy, nearly 1,000-yard receiving guy last year. Going to be an impact player, no doubt, wherever he goes. And we've seen in the past, yes, there have been cautionary portal tales, but there have also been tales where you get a star receiver out of the portal and he's the difference in 2 or 3 games for you. So I know you want to take that principled stance, and there's a lot of pride about how great a program is. Do we really want to go spend for a receiver? Well, you may be spending for wins. How much are wins worth? I don't know. That's why I'm not the one making the call.